Hello and welcome back to the railway. We're not going to have a look at too much new this week, just a handful of 1970s Hornby freight wagons. We're just following the Nella Hall around the railway here with the set of collet coaches that we saw a few weeks ago. So we'll just follow her around for a bit. Now we are going to get the 264 tank locomotive that we had last week out of the station shortly, and then we'll get her to swap the coaches for this group of freight wagons there in the siding. So let's see if we can catch the Nella Hall just before she gets to points number 1B. So we'll begin to take a bit of power out of that. Nice express service around the railway there. Yeah, and I've done that just a little bit too late. So I'm looking through the camera rather than watching the whole view. So we'll just see if we can back her up a little bit. There we go. That ought to do the trick. So I haven't done a great deal on the railway this week, and I haven't had a great deal of time either. As things stand, this is the week just before that we're going, in theory, coming out of lockdown, and businesses are beginning to reopen again. So I'm planning to return to work in the next sort of 5 days or so. But the railway's been not much really on the surface going on. What I have done is underneath, and I've improved some of the wiring, but I don't think that makes for good viewing, so we'll ignore that. So we're just going to open points number 1, but it has smoothed out a few things with the operation of the railway, and I have identified a couple of other things I want to change. As I said, this railway wasn't really what I had in mind when these baseboards were rebuilt last year. Let's give this a little power. Let's see if we can widen the camera a bit and perhaps watch them come through from the other direction. It hadn't been my intention to stick with this System 6 track for quite so long. I had just intended just to get it out and have a go with the later style catenary, but I've got quite bogged down into it, and it's turned into something I hadn't expected. Let's see how we do here. See if I can concentrate on this for a moment. So we'll just draw that into what we're calling platform number 2. Right up towards the station building. We'll stop just before the red and cream coaches up there. And I'm going to watch the train rather than the camera. There we go. So I'm just going to throw a couple of switches in the background so that we can get the 262 tank out. Open the station approach and then isolate the Nella Hall. So ideally the 262 tank locomotive is going to move away from the station, and then we'll have a quick run around the outside line, and then we'll see if we can back the coaches into this siding between the ferry vans and this small group of freight wagons here, and we'll see if we can swap over and take those out for a run. So interesting plan. Hopefully it will work. Just having a quick glance at the point work as I wander around the railway. So I think it's time to go for the power. Let's see if we can draw her out of the station now. Just hold that up so we get a better view. There we go. We've got a slight squeak on something at the moment there. I have to investigate that at some point. These things are sent to drive you mad. So we'll just pull her through the point work. Just a little bit further. Yeah, we're definitely clear of that now, so we'll just close number 8. So that's the one just behind the coaches there. Does a lot of work, that set of points. So along with this set as well, they get a lot of use. So let's have a quick go around. I wonder which one of those pieces of rolling stock there is making the squeak, or maybe it's the locomotive. And say at the end of last week's video I discovered that one of the buffers wasn't quite correct, and I put that bit in at the end to show I'd changed it over. I'm not quite sure why it had the spring behind it. Let's give that a little power now and see how she does. Squeaky controller still. So we'll just follow that around and see if we can get a nice view of that. Let's take a little bit of power off there. Don't want to come flying off through those curves. And around one more time, I think. Lovely locomotive. Really pleased to have got one. Sorry, the camera's wobbling away there. Actually, I haven't gone quite far enough forward there. Let's go a little bit more. I think it's that bridge in the way that doesn't help the judgment, or looking through the camera when you're planning to do that. So we want number 8 and 1Y, and I think we're set to go into the right place. Yeah, we're going to go alongside these ferry vans. So let's see if we can back this up a little bit more into the station. Not the station, the sidings. Of course, that was one of my ideas, is to put a station in the area we're going into now. I did even buy some more buildings, but that's a thing for another day, I think. It involves making too many alterations to the layout, I think, to get it to work. And now I'm going to watch the end of the coaches. About there, I think. So what we need now is the uncoupler. Yeah, so I'd got another city station set, which had been my intention to use the parts of it to put a 2-track station in here, and a terminal building at the end of it with another canopy. But the space, there just isn't enough space. It would involve building more, extending the board. It's just too. The railway's become silly enough as it is, I think. We'll just separate those and take out the uncoupler. Let's go back to the controls. And then we're going to roll her forward. And then we'll open the points. And then we want to roll her backwards and see if we can collect that little group of wagons and the guards van. So away we go. Definitely got those. And I think one of the isolating tracks is still set wrong there. So 1A I need to make live. So let's see if that solves the problem. Sorry, it's wandering around. I'm looking over my other shoulder here. So there we go. That solved the issue. So we'll just grab that guard's van. I think we have that. So let's just roll forward. Yeah, we've got the whole lot. They're much quieter than the coaches, I think, aren't they? Nice clatter there as they all come to a stop. I think we'll close 1Y while we're at it there. And then out onto the main line. And then we'll close number 8. So let's just follow these round a little. Definitely a bit of a jump into life there. Round the curves, should make a nice clatter over the diamond crossing. Actually, not as much clatter as the coaches make. Seem to make much less sort of overall noise. Quite surprising. I think they all but one have silver seal wheels on them. Let's see if we can tighten the camera up a little bit. So we've got the guards van on the end there, and a little Esso tank wagon, a Lions Made closed van, and a wonderful prime pork, and an open wagon. I think that's an R10. I can't remember all their numbers, but that's one's been around for a long, long time. And then a Bestwood, that's quite a late 70s one, that. Can't remember the number of that, but we'll stop them and have a quick glance at my notes and see what period or years they roughly came from. So I think we'll bring them back to point 1B. That's under the bridge there. Let's see if we can calm that down now. There we have it. So I think probably we'll just widen the camera a little, or a lot, and we'll switch 1B and 2B. That should bring the whole lot onto the inside line. So I should be able to use the inside line controller for that, I think. Let's see if that works. Go, and we'll just close up the points. Let's click in the background. So just glancing at my notes. So the locomotive we saw last week, that's the R062, the BR Black 462 tank locomotive, or have I been referring to it as a 262, 262 or 462? I'm getting my numbers mixed up, but I think we know what we mean. So, lovely locomotive, and I think at the end of last week's video I discovered when I was making the thumbnail picture, that one of these buffers, I can't remember which one now, had been replaced. All the time I'd shot the video I hadn't noticed it, and then when I was looking close at the very end at the picture on the computer screen I spotted it. So, and then looked back in the videos, and it was there at about minute 24. So that was the first time I spotted it within the video. So we've got this Bestwood Ironworks open wagon here. It's a 5-plank wagon. That's a R096. I think, yeah, that one does have some silver seal wheels on it. Let me just tighten the camera up a little bit so we can get a little bit of a closer view at those. So I think that was available 77, 79. So fairly dark plastic. I think we've got some printed detail in the plastic, like planks and so on in there. And one of these wagons is missing a buffer, but I can't remember which one. I remember when I was putting them on. And there we've got the R10 Open Wagon. And I think these came along in the 1950s. This is a green one. I think this one's from around 1970-ish, early 70s from from what I read. And then there's the prime pork closed wagon. That's from what I've read. There's a couple of model numbers for that one. Could be R62 or R216. I think it ran for a long time, 74 to 82. And I think that one's just got black plastic wheels on. So I'm just knocking into the side of the table there. And there's the lines made. And this one wasn't made for very long, just in 1974, I think. And that's R130. So I think the plastic moulding on the top of that is the same as the prime pork. I think it's the same deal. Also the roof moulding. But we've got silver seal wheels on that one. And you hear the doorbell in the background. I'm hoping somebody else in the house will get that. I'm hoping that's my new soldering iron being delivered. So, and then we've got the Esso tank wagon. That's got paper stickers on the side of it. I think the black stars are printed on. And there is some printing just under the ladders. I'll get an insert picture in there and you'll see that's really fine, very hard to read. I thought it was a mark on the actual wagon. When I first saw it, I didn't realise it was actually meant to be there. So that's R108, and I think that's 74 to 75 again. That particular tank wagon, quite a short period in the catalogue. I know we have the sort of the BR brake van, the sort of slightly longer wheelbase. This came along in 67. It's had a number of model numbers over the years, but the one that springs to mind and I wrote down is R016. So I don't know whether this one, I think this one's actually got black plastic wheels. Yeah, it does. This one has black plastic wheels. I think you can get them with the grey roofs as well. So just a nice little group of wagons. They look sort of quite cute behind the tank locomotive. I can't remember, as we were saying, I was getting the wheel arrangement, pronouncing the wheel arrangement wrong. Again, not always getting everything right. So, lovely group, look quite good on the railway with the rest of the 70s items. But I've got a track plan book from 1970 I thought we might have a quick look at. Let me just move these forward because this is a good place to put the book down. And they moved off a little quicker than I was expecting. So let me just grab this track plans book. So I'm not sure whether we've looked over the track plans books or just briefly looked at them. Again, my railway isn't from a track plans book. This one is, my railway at the moment we're looking at isn't planned, it just sort of evolved, and we'll probably have a look at some drawings in a moment to see what I was thinking about when prior to making this railway. As I said, I had only really planned to use this sort of later continue with the System 6 and have a bit of a run and experiment with the locomotive to go with it, and then probably get into using some Series 3 and then hopefully into the Super 4, which is ultimately the plan, but things can change, and I'm having so much fun with this at the moment. It seems silly not to continue with it. We've got that great picture there. Again, we've got those canopies there that I've got on the railway. There is a version of this picture with the ex-Hornby 00 station in here as well. I can't remember where that one appears, but there's some lovely models in here. We've got the breakdown crane. We've got a Princess, an early 70s or late 60s Princess there. We haven't had a Princess on the railway for a while either, or the 125 I keep promising to get out. Car transporters there, we haven't had those out for a while. But a lovely picture. Must have been great fun setting this one up. See, there's not a lot in the background. That's a studio wall there. You can see the shadow off the suspension bridge on something back there. And again, you can see blue studio wall or background paper, Colorama in the background there. So, pretty good thing. Turntable as well. We must have a look at my turntable. And I've been fiddling with it, and you can see in this picture here they use the converter rails here and then down onto level ground. I think it's quite an uncomfortable thing. It works, but the later 70s models I've been using do struggle with it, especially with the nearer full-size centre drive wheel. They tend to rock over that, so I have acquired yet another turntable, the R10, which in the coming weeks or months, maybe now, because I might not get the chance to do it for a while, I will install. It was originally, I think, a non-motorised version, but it has benefited from the motorising kit. So we'll just have a quick glance through the booklet here. So selecting a site for your railway, very important. So I imagine at some time we've all struggled in where we're going to put the railway, but not ideal stacking it behind the cupboard, is it? It'll be really rough on the track, although maybe you just put the board there and then loose lay the track on the board itself. But in the loft, very popular place to have the railway, as it comes with its own set of problems. So there's some great symbols here, which is what I took from this to make some of the layout plans we might have a look at in a section when I drew up my Super 4 layout, which I'd intended to be sitting here now, but it isn't, as a result of a number of things going on. I'm just going to widen this camera a little bit so we can perhaps see more of it. I thought we were a little wider than that. There we go. Again, these lovely symbols for these items. Even got a symbol for the freight crane to unload the freight liners. Lovely thing. Terrific symbol for the turntable. Even got one for the tunnel, the preformed tunnel. Station buildings and the canopies and so on. So quite nice things. I use some of these to help me sort of try and work out a layout plan. So there's loads of information in these books, even if you're not going to make a layout or do anything like that. You just want information about the railway or the system. This is a really good starting point, one of these books. I think that could be said perhaps for the current track plan book, which I haven't seen. I have just, however, got the current Hornby catalogue, which is quite an interesting thing. It's the newest catalogue I've had for years and years and years. My wife and son came home with it the other day. I was quite pleased to get that. Very interesting. So some great information, how points work. So this would be a really good starting point, as I say. And then we have a variety of layouts here. And we've got some basic sizes telling you how much space you're going to require for each of these particular layouts, and then a group of components to achieve the desired layout. So I think let's have a swift look through these. We won't get too bogged down in these. So I'm aware last week's video did end up being quite a bit longer than I had intended. So I never have a fully planned out to the minute when I'm making these, but I'm trying to keep them sort of in the region of 30 minutes at the moment as a plan, but it doesn't always quite work out that way. Figure 8, and up and over. Yeah, they become more complex. That's a lovely looking layout, isn't it? Look at that. It's a really beautiful bit of track work, that, and they've got the crane in it as well. Look, space required for this 9'6" by 5'9". That's quite a bit of space, isn't it? So quite interesting. And just a layout for a freight depot and a hump shunting yard could be quite interesting. So it must be quite a bit of work putting one of these together. There's quite a elaborate layout. Look at that. You've got a terminus station at either side and a through station here. Again, it'd be lovely to get something like that out. Space required 15 foot by 6. So I can't remember what I've got here. I think down the long side here, I think just over 14 feet, I think, down the sides from end to end there, and I think across I'm probably just running at 10 just under 10 feet perhaps. Can't quite remember the measurements now. The old layout was 5 by 10, and that used to sit from almost up to the wall there to just about at the end of the chimney breast there. So quite a bit of space, 15 by 6. Again, sort of how you can use the station platform pieces. And that's a lovely station, isn't it? I think you've got 4 canopy units in there by the looks of it. I imagine a bit tricky getting the catenary to roll into there. So yeah, I had it in mind to do something similar to this at the end of this platform, not platform, at the end of this area where I've just put in the sidings here. But I need another. I think I'm short of about 3, possibly 4 inches. Sorry to do that in inches. I'll write that on the screen in centimetres, but it is about that much I'm short of. But to make it work really comfortably, it'd be really nice. I've got a couple of options I could have put in there, but I think we'll save those for another layout, another day. Again, this is all really interesting stuff. Love the diagrams. So how to wire the points up. I was always confused by this diagram when I first looked at it, until you realise it's 2 point switches, so it's 2 separately wired points. It's not 2 points running off the same switch as far as I can see. So I don't think it covers running 2 points together in here. That lovely signal gantry here. I've just got myself one of these as a spare or repair item. I'm going to wire it up with some LEDs and install that on the layout. Be quite nice to get one of those in, perhaps with the catenary. And how to put in the return loop. So I've never had a return loop on the railways. I'm thinking it would be quite a nice idea, having spent the last few months running these quite long trains with all the coaches and then scenic modelling. Lots of ideas and how to achieve certain things. So I'm thinking that perhaps it would be nice to have a return loop at some point in the layout. Not in this one, it will have to be next time, but you never know. But, let me just grab this other book and have a quick glance at the plans, the rough plans I did make. So this is I'm not going to pull everything out of the folder. This is as we stand now. But if I roll back a little bit, so that's too far back. That's going back a long way. So I had. Oh, there's the plans for the baseboard of the last railway. That's how I drew it, and then pretty much accurately. That's pretty much what I built in the end. So it was like that. 3 sections. So I had planned to build a railway like this on that baseboard. It had been the plan all the way along that when that one went, I would do this as similar to a trade layout from the Triang Railways days. And that's how it should have been, I think. And then that's as I extended it to fit the 10-foot board, because I think the plan was for an 8-foot board, and I had 10 by 5, and I extended it. That's one of the pictures from the early Triang Railways picture. And I think these were trade layouts destined for the, for showing what you could do with the system in a store, perhaps. A list of components, and there's the same layout with its upper elevated section in, which I always thought was quite interesting. So I'd planned and acquired all the pieces to make this work. 2 separate sets of catenary. The 2 separate lines there, I'd worked out that we could get catenary all the way around it with the old steel pressed style of catenary on Series 3 track with a little grey base track perhaps on the elevated section. I was never quite had enough really nice grey track, but probably enough to make it sort of work. But Anyway, I never did get to build that, so the board went before I built it. I thought I'd just build a larger layout around the room, but I really would love to use these items to build something in Series 3 and operate it. It is a plan of mine, and that's the layout we took down just a few months ago. So we've seen that and how that developed in various videos, and we don't really need to cover that. But again, I used symbols which I've lifted from the track plans books and rearranged them on the computer to make the plans. So we'll not bother with those. Plan 9 is where it all started, out of the track plans book originally, and I made it grow from there. But I'll leave a link to the video of how I got to that point. So that really is another thing. So here is when I started planning for the railway to run it around the room, and how much of the room I was going to use. So that's the door. So if we're looking over here, that's that area. And it was just drawing the sort of things that I might be able to achieve. So, I'm drawing an architectural drawing or track planning isn't really my thing, but there were a number of options of using up the space slightly differently. That used up slightly more of the room, but created some really uncomfortable places. You could, take the edge off, but then the reach wouldn't be quite so good. And also no working area, so that area there would be that area there where I'm working right now. So maybe one day, if we change that around, there is an option, and it will work. So you can have around the room and back again, and a walk in. There's place to do that, but I'll lose the working area in the process. So, plans sort of developed through this. You've got the 3 radiuses you could be employed running through there. Basic measurements, so it gets a bit more interesting in a second. So there, I've got the track plan symbols, and I started to lay down the plans for what I was sort of planning. There's an element of this in here, but I did want two platforms, through platforms, so we could run through, but long enough to get 4 to 5 coach trains in. That was what I'd planned. So the blue section is an up and over, and once up, it's not just up and over, it's up and stay up, which is what I haven't achieved on this current layout. As I say, this just wasn't planned, this just seriously evolved. There was no real planning, and it is just all fitted in, which is hence I haven't got the secondary station in there, although perhaps we could get one in here, or the Freightliner unloading equipment there. Perhaps the crane might work quite nicely. So to get that to go up, nice long climbs here, in excess of 2 meters, I think, the climb and the fall, and then elevate all the way up, incorporating the suspension bridge, which was what I was going for, and then I was drawing in the turntable. So I shared these plans with a couple of people while I was doing this over last summer, and talked through, and I was really quite convinced that this is the way I was going to go. It's a 4-track, 4 separate circuits. 5. I think it is 5 separate circuits. So 2 on the outside, 2 on the inside, plus the elevated section would all independently run as 5. But realistically, I don't really use 2. So it sort of taught me that I don't need all those extra lines. I'll never just sit with things running around and round. Numbers scrawled everywhere, counting up pieces of track and things. So where have we got to? Let's just go a little further through. Yeah, that's so this is pretty much where I got to in the end. Still with the multiple independent circuits. My plan was to have catenary only on the inside and the up and over. And the two outside circuits, the very long outside circuits, wouldn't have catenary on them at all. So the turntable also I thought was quite interesting. And not that it would be used as a through route, but turntable could be approached and used from both directions. So I still think that's an element I might like to build in at some point. But that was my plan. It didn't arrive, and again counting up the track work. So what we ended up with was this, or variations of this. So we ended up working at this. So this is just drawn after the fact. So we're not even here anymore. So we've got that's the new sidings as I put them in the other week, and then finally got them drawn on, and that's what we have on the wall at the moment. So it really is just evolved. It's just sort of developed as we go. So a number of things I haven't been able to do, perhaps if I'd thought about it a bit more in advance, but sometimes you just don't need to think about things in advance, just see what happens. And this has turned out to be quite a lot more fun, just seeing what happened. I didn't think I would perhaps take it quite so far, so there we go. So I think also if we hadn't had this period of lockdown, I wouldn't have developed this quite so far, so we can blame it on the effect of coronavirus that's encouraged me to play with the trains quite like this. So yeah, I think the turntable will have a change at some point. That might involve a little bit of a fiddle with this area here, because the geometry is slightly different on the later 70s turntable. So I think that would be quite interesting. The other day, when I was buying food from the supermarket, bringing the things back out of the car, it runs very near the, I can't remember, the railway museum in North Tyneside, and their line runs across the back of the supermarket. There was a diesel shunter on the line there, so I ran across the outside the car park and onto the footpath alongside the railway, and just managed to get this clip of this diesel shunter just moving away, and a couple of quick photographs. So I think I'll just put that in there for you to have a quick look at. It's not usually my thing, photographing or videoing real trains, but I thought somebody might quite enjoy that. So I think we'll just finish with this tank locomotive, just bringing these freight wagons just around the inside line, and we'll just follow them round for a moment or two. So again, this video has turned out to be quite an unusual video, but I've quite enjoyed playing with the railway this week. And so I've made some improvements to the wiring, so they just make things a little easier for me to use. We'll find that train hiding under there somewhere. There she is. Let's see if we can just follow her behind the controllers here. I think we have a slight derailment. A slight. So we either have a derailment or we don't have a derailment. So we've definitely got a derailment there. It is the bogies on this tank engine, they do bounce. And it's just interfered with this point here. Let's reset that point. back again. So I think the bounce occurred somewhere along here, along this section here. I heard it and then heard that distinctive sound of it growling. So let's just give it a little more power. And let's see if we can successfully run around the railway one more time. Now, hopefully she won't jump off the rails again, but it does seem to happen with this model. Ooh, lost her completely there. Got the GWR clears through coaches in the side in here. A little pannier tank. And then let's just follow her through here. It was somewhere in this next section where I heard the noise before. Sounding pretty good that time. So again, thanks for watching, and thanks for all those who've been commenting. It's hugely appreciated. I apologise in advance if I'm not getting back to all the comments in the next few weeks or so, because the readjustment to working life might be quite difficult, having had plenty of time to sit and read and write comments and play with the trains. It's going to be an interesting few months. So as I say, by the time you see this video, hopefully many of us will have returned back to some sort of normality. But thanks again for watching. Goodbye now.